Welcome to RPG Book Club, a podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we're continuing our playthrough of Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, covering up until we are told to go to Elfrea. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
I don't know, man. I slept real bad last night. I kind of didn't sleep much. I had to get up early this morning, so I tried to go to bed early, but that just sort of meant my body wasn't ready to go to bed, so I ended up being awake for most of it. I finally fell asleep, and then I had like this really bizarre long dream, and then I woke up and I was like, oh man, I must have been asleep for so long because I had this really weird long dream, and I checked, I'd been asleep for like 45 minutes.
Damn.
And then I couldn't get back to sleep, so I played Fire Emblem.
Mm-hmm. I also had terrible sleep last night. My sleep hasn't been great, but for the opposite reason lately. I've been sleeping a lot of 10, 11 hours a day, which is bad. But then I had awful sleep today, in the range of 4 to 5 hours, because I was woken up by tummy problems and frequent bathroom trips, and I hate it. I need to figure out if there's something going on with my goddamn colon or something. Ugh.
I was able to twist my back for the first time in 7 days today.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations.
I would have thought that I was all the way better from how much, like when I woke up this morning, I was able to twist and reach and bend over and all of that stuff. And I cleaned my room and everything was fine. And then I got cocky and I was like, I'm going to walk to the store and get some detergent so I can start my clothes before the podcast, because Bernard says we'll start our podcast around noon, and it's currently 11:30, so I have plenty of time to get over to the store and back before podcast. And then Bernard said he was ready at 11:38, and I missed it. But walking over to the store and back did aggravate my back, and so I'm in tiny pain right now. But compared to, I was completely bedridden from Monday to around Thursday. That I'll take having a slight pain in my back right now. I can just put a hot pack on it and I'll be fine. I do want to issue a correction. Not that you should be taking medical advice from a podcast about video games where the
it would be my colon, it would be my intestines or something. I know.
No, not for you. But don't take medical advice from a podcast about video games where the host is always wrong about everything. But Carr, the dentist, did want to let me know, so I could let you guys know, that you can take Tylenol in Aleve. You just can't take Aleve in ibuprofen. So I had also found this out shortly after we had recorded, and so I used Tylenol to last me through the transition period from Aleve back to ibuprofen, because ibuprofen works better for me. And so I wanted to put that out there so that if anybody was hurt, they weren't remembering that I had said that and being wrong. But I'm always wrong. Do not listen to me.
You probably shouldn't even listen now and get your advice directly from a medical professional.
Yes, but I did at least want to want to correct what I had said. But yes, if you are in pain, you should talk to your doctor.
That's a very good correction. Also, your story about that got up being to say congratulations just flicked a light bulb in my brain of like, oh, I do have another thing I can talk about besides not sleeping well this week, because this week's been very boring. But I did remember, like, oh yeah, randomly in the last week, I was doing something and my wife came into my room and started clapping her hands and went, congratulations. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, I just finished watching Evangelion for the first time. And that's just been delightful. I didn't even know I had forgotten she'd even started watching it with someone. And now I'm like, oh, yay. Now I can share with you just all of the things about that. Now you have the context with a capital C.
Man, I haven't watched Evangelion in like over a decade. I don't even remember anything about it.
I watched it like 7, 8 years ago. I could probably give it a rewatch.
back when podcast movie nights were a Discord thing that we did instead of a bonus episode that we did,
Or a thing that we did at all.
yes, I we were watching Evangelion for the Xenogears season, and I realized that this was a show I needed to like sit down and watch and not just have on hanging out.
This is
And
true.
so because of that, I've never gotten around to it because sitting down and watching television is something I very rarely have time to do. And
I understand.
My current sit down and watch TV show is Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It is very, very good, but is very, very much a big boy anime. And so it's also only in Japanese, so I literally have to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
But
see, my way of getting around that limitation is I'm going through various shows with different partners, and so I'm just sometimes forced to sit down and watch a show that I haven't seen, and that's nice as a way to get through a thing. And it helps with something like Evangelion, which can both get very heavy and at times very not like a fun what the fuck. Sometimes Evangelion just becomes like I describe it as there are points, especially near the show, where it's like technobabble in Star Trek, but with theological terms instead of technological terms. That's just a thing.
Yeah. Another thing that has been happening this week is it's GDQ week, and they ran Astrobot, and it was really cool and really awesome. And Storm asked if he could put in a donation, and I put it in for him, and they read it on air, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, does this mean I'm an Astrobot now?" And it's one of the cutest, most amazing memories I have with the boy right now. So
that's so cute.
I think we might have talked about that last week.
I think we did, yeah, we did.
But it's a good story. It can be told twice.
It can. It's true. I've probably told stories twice 100 times.
Time is so fake. I laid in a bed for like 4 days straight. I don't know anything that happened. I did beat Mario Wonder though. Mario Wonder rules, and
nice.
I'm
kind of disappointed in it in the weirdest way though. I've been spoiled by Mario 3D Land and Mario 3D World. There weren't 8 more worlds of game after you beat it. It ended when it was supposed to end, and that made me sad.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, Mario 3D World and Odyssey both have a bunch of fun bonus stuff and super mega challenges at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, now I'm thinking back to is it the Perfect Run is what it's called, or the one in Super Mario 3D World that's like the ultimate final challenge that I fucking did. I did that shit. I didn't enjoy it, but I did. Actually, I did enjoy it. I love a good platforming challenge in a Mario game.
Yeah, the final challenge in Wonder is awesome because it's a gauntlet of all of the it basically plays the hits of all of the Wonder Flower mechanics that have happened throughout the game, and because it's in a Wonder Flower, you can't have a checkpoint in the middle. So that's how they force it to be a 1 credit clear of all of the hardest, coolest Wonder Flower things, and that rules. And
that reminds me a little bit of the Super Challenge thing from Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is still my favorite 3D Mario game. I think that one was called the Perfect Run, actually, where they're like, "Oh, hey, remember the hardest level we gave you? Do it all with 1 health and no checkpoints." Mm-hmm. And it did a similar thing in the Wonder Flower of like it capturing different mechanics or different stuff throughout the entire game. So it was testing you on a bunch of very different kinds of skills that the game was making you develop, which I think is such a satisfying way to do it. It was also infuriating, especially when I was renting the game and didn't own it.
I have just confirmed in Mario Galaxy 2 that's the one that has the perfect run. And 3D World, it's Champions Road.
Champions Road, that was it. Okay.
I'm watching a video of Champions Road now and just thinking about how much I love 3D World and wishing I could play the Switch version, but I can't because Mario's too fast and I can't deal with it.
Oh, I love how fast Mario is in the new one.
I in the new one I can only play as Peach because she's the slowest. Everyone else I just can't deal with it for some like
Weird.
they're so much faster.
Weird. I enjoy that they're much faster. It's almost like people can like different things, and that's weirding me out right now.
That's so wild.
But speaking of things that I like, let's start talking about Lufia.
Speaking of moving faster, let's talk about the Lufia restored hack. Oh yeah, I should stop watching a video of Champions Road and bring up my notes.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Totino's and Lufia make the trek to the port town of Trek, where they hear that monsters have been causing trouble for the sailors. But they're not here for that, they're here to find the person who knows about the Sinistrals. While exploring the town, they run into an old man, the first of many this week, who says, quote, "I sense unusual energy from you. Did you battle a strong enemy lately?" Unquote. And I'm like, okay. But yes, we did. The old man says he was with Guy's Legion back in the day. Yes, that guy. The guy who fought at Doom Island. Totino's is like, I fought Gades. And I'm like, fought is a strong word.
Just absolutely decimated. Had a new asshole ripped in is maybe a more appropriate way to put it.
Yeah. Totino's asks for more information on the Sinistrals, and when he reveals that he's a descendant of Maxim, the old man is like, holy shit, you need to meet the One. He takes the party to his house and asks his niece, Ania, to take them to see the One. And this whole the One thing, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's not like a thing, so I'm wondering if it's a weird mistranslation of some odd pronoun usage in the original.
Yeah, it probably is the Super NES trying to translate him.
Yeah.
This is the problem when your typography only has caps.
Mm-hmm.
It is so odd. But Ania leads the party through a cave to a remote hut where a different old man lives. Totino's introduces himself as Maxim's descendant, and the old man asks Totino's to focus his thoughts. Immediately, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And then I press the A button, and Totino's is like, what the hell does that mean? The old man senses a strong energy similar to Maxim's flowing through Totino's, and I'm like, okay, sure. The old man reveals himself to be Guy. That's right, the same guy who fought the Sinistrals as a grown man 99 years ago. He's old as fuck now.
Yeah.
Totino says he fought Gades, and Guy says that's impossible. They killed Gades. Totino's is like, nah, I totally fought Gades. He also finally introduces Lufia, and I think Guy has a weird reaction to her name. It's kind of quick and vague.
I definitely think she does. But it's very quick.
Yeah. Anyway, Guy's like, I'm gonna go fight. Oops, actually, I'm dying. He tells Totino to seek out Artea, the elf. Artea can help because elves live a long time, so he probably won't die minutes after Totino's finds him. Guy says there's someone in Grenoble who should know where Artea is, then he dies. Artea and the party bury Guy in the meadow next to his hut, though actually if you go over to the meadow before speaking to Guy for some reason, the grave is already there.
That's so good.
Also, the grave, it looks like a sword stuck in the ground, which I guess would make sense. Guy's a warrior. And if you investigate it, you get a sword.
Wait, really? His grave?
The the graphics of the sword stay there, but you do acquire a short sword that is a good weapon for Totinos at this point in the game.
That's amazing.
Wish I'd done that.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought to do that, but I did, and I was rewarded. Totinos and Lufia head back to Trek and look for a way to Grenoble. They meet a man named Aguro at the dock, who introduces himself as a commander of the Lorbenian army. We've heard of Lorbenia a few times at this point from NPCs. Apparently it's a big city with lots of shopping, and there aren't any ships going there now because of monster attacks. Aguro says he sailed here when he heard that Gades invaded Shirin. Totinos is like, hey, I fought Gades, and Aguro's like, holy shit, tell me everything. Because he doesn't know that all there is to tell is, I got my ass handed to me.
It's a very short story.
Yeah. For sale, my ass handed to me.
Lightly used.
But then a ship sails up and attacks Aguro's ship, sinking it. Monsters disembark and attack. Totinos, Lufia, and Aguro fight the monsters. And it's around this time you might realize, oh, cutting the encounter rate in half with a ROM hack might cause some trouble with the game's balance because this fight is hard.
It's so hard.
So I had to grind a bit, which I think might be a thing because we cut this game's encounter rate in half, so we're going to get a lot less incidental grinding.
That amazing. So I keep forgetting to use the Lufia Restored patch because I had already played it before, like 2 weeks before we even knew we were going to be playing it. So I was already a ways in, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll use fast forward and I'll catch up and it'll be fine. I'll do it." And then I never did, and so I didn't have an issue with this one, and so I'm like, maybe I'm vindicated and I should continue using the crappy version.
But in your version, it'll be the bars will sell cider instead of vodka.
That's true. We get vodka.
It's okay. I'm straight edge. I don't need it.
Okay.
Damn.
After killing the monsters dead, Totinos tells Aguro the plot of the game thus far. Aguro says they'll have to sail to Lorbenia to get to Grenoble, and they can use his ship. Except the monsters sank his ship, and there aren't any other ships headed for Lorbenia. And prom's tomorrow. Aguro joins the party, and they ask around town to see if they can find a ship. A man in the tavern says his ship, the Mabiria, was stolen by monsters. It was seen at an island just off the western coast, but you'd have to pass through a dangerous cave to get there. We're a JRPG party. We love dangerous caves.
Hell yeah.
The party heads through the cave and finds the ship, but they're attacked by monsters again. And again, for us at least, the fight is rough.
The fight was in fact so rough that despite save stating to try to get the best RNG I possibly could with these guys, I just wiped over and over again, and I know what happens after this fight, but let's just say I really need to tonight get back to this part of the game and grind the shit out of it so I can catch up. Because these goblins are menaces.
They're strong goblins. Yeah, I had to just put on fast forward and grind for a while. 'Cause yeah. Sam, did you have trouble with this fight, or was the game perfectly balanced for you?
What's keep happening to me?
I don't know if it would be perfectly balanced, because how I end up playing a lot of the games I can play on my SP is I will throw on fast forward, and you can hold down the A button in this one, and it'll just zoom through battle. So the higher encounter rate, A, doesn't bother me. B, if I get lost, it doesn't bother me that I have all of these extra encounter rates, and so I end up being over leveled in a lot of the games that we've done so far. I was massively over leveled in Legaia.
It makes me feel a little better.
So I don't know if it was adequate or I got lost in the cave enough to just push through it.
Yeah. Anyway, they kill the monsters dead and sail the Mabiria back to Trek and tell the man that they got his ship back. As thanks, the man says he'll sell them to Lorbinia at any time they need. For free. Convenient. When they arrive in Lorbinia, Aguros says he's going to the army headquarters to request the Lorbinian army be officially dispatched against the Sinistrals. Lufia is like, cool, I'm a girl, so while you do that, can we go dress shopping? And
that is what happens.
Totino's is like, okay.
I will say the whole section when you get to this city and the party kind of splits off to do different things, and there's a bunch of like I don't know. I'm like thinking back, and maybe I'm just comparing it too much to something like Final Fantasy IV, but I'm just like, for a Super Nintendo RPG, this feels like a lot more of a interesting freeform character focus isn't the right word, but like it's more than I would expect from a game of this age.
Yeah, I agree. At a lot of times, like the actual scenarios are very simple, but in a lot of ways it feels more like a Game Boy Advance game. It feels like it's just a little more in its storytelling. It's just a little further along than Super Nintendo JRPGs. So Totino's and Lufia head to a big department store / shopping mall type place in the middle of town. And there's dresses. The dresses are pretty, but expensive. While Lufia is window shopping, some brat runs by her and steals her gold. Classic JRPG scenario. Except,
Love to see it.
Yeah, but thank God we do not have to track down the kid or do a minigame or anything. The cutscene just continues, and Totino's and Lufia corner him during the cutscene.
This is much preferable.
I was so relieved.
I was afraid it was going to be another one of those mini games where like the one in I think Suikoden had it when this happens in Suikoden, where like you have to corner him. Where, like,
oh God, I hate
you run this
those.
way and they run that way, and you have to get them to run into a dead end. I was so afraid it was going to be one of those.
It was like
I remember
the Far-Fetched and Pokemon Gold.
I was about to say, I think the Pokemon games have done that a few times. Of course, in those games, the Pokemon have not pickpocketed you.
It's true.
But it feels like there are so many JRPGs where you go to a town and then some kid runs by you and you're like, my gold is gone.
Or in the case of Thousand Year Door, it's not a child. It is a dude. Abandoned even. I was also just the fact that like during that scene when that's happening and it does switch to like, oh, we're gonna focus the kid as he goes through this building. We're gonna focus on like, we're not gonna skip to him outside. We're gonna follow him moving exactly how he does to escape and everything through every level, through different scene transitions. My brain was just focusing on like, oh gosh, like considering that like I know it's not actually that complicated, but I was just like thinking of like, what did they do system wise to make this happen? And I know it's probably a much simpler than I'm thinking it is, but it's just, I don't know. It's just fun to consider because I've messed around with like, you know, older ROM hacks and stuff before, and sometimes you have to do funky stuff. Be like, okay, for right now, this character's the player character. That's why the screen has to follow them for this cutscene or something like that. And I don't know, it was just fun.
But yeah, Taito really bent the Super NES over its own back.
No!
Yes! It's back!
I just want you to know I made myself laugh so hard that I hurt my back. So
you bent your back over its own back. Totino's
I'm laughing a lot too.
I'm not. Totino's wants to narc on the kid to the army, but Lufia's like, no, we got our money back. It's fine. I'm sure he has a reason to steal. Let's let him go. And I'm like, if he does have a reason to steal, there's still a big problem here. And you're not being a very good JRPG protagonist by ignoring someone's problem and not just stepping in to solve it. So anyway, Totino's and Lufia head to the inn. The innkeeper is like, "Oh, you had trouble with that Shia kid, huh? He's the son of Professor Shia, who's traveling around the world studying something weird. He left Lu at home for his safety. The Shia family business of studying weird things doesn't pay well, so the people in town let it slide when Lu steals from them. Letting the child live in a situation where he has to steal to get by and then letting him steal instead of just pulling resources to give him what he needs is an odd model of community support, but hey, whatever works."
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's
so
better than
bizarre.
cops. Imagine the start of Aladdin with one jump, but it's like as soon as Aladdin's not around, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we just let him do this. We think he needs it."
The next day, Aguro goes to the inn to talk with Totino's and Lufia. Aguro says when he told the army they needed to fight the Sinistrals, they were completely uninterested. Aguro says he wants to join Totino's on his quest, so Aguro has finally, officially joined the party. I accidentally said finally, even though it hasn't been very long.
Can I also say regarding this guy, I mentioned last week some interest, like being like kind of intrigued / confused about how the timing and battle system works. I feel like Hero's a great example of learning more about how that is, because with our first two, with Totino's and Lufia, when they attack and you tell them to attack, they attack a couple seconds later at most. When you tell Guro to attack, it's gonna take, you need to put something in the microwave. You need to go scroll on Tumblr for a little bit. It's gonna be a while. And it's worth it because he hits really hard, but is it worth it because in the time it takes you to attack, he might just get mobbed and killed?
Whenever I play a Super Nintendo game or something, I always end up going through it and I'm like, there's aspects of this game I don't understand. I should look up the manual online and read it. And listener, I never do.
Never ever.
Oh, I love
maybe
a good
the manual
manual
would explain how this works. I mean, it seems to just be like you choose an attack, then based on their speed, it happens a few rounds later, but it is sort of weird.
It's also, you have to take into account spells also change that, because like some different spells cast faster or shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Droplet is also, it takes a while. Which also, why is it called Droplet?
I don't know why it's called Droplet. It doesn't sound very powerful, and it's not very powerful until you get the water ring or whatever it's called that boosts water attack.
I would love to get that.
I think you get it in Old Cave, but we're not there yet.
Old Cave.
We're about to get there.
That sounds like a Pokemon location.
Yeah, it probably is. There's a lot of Pokemon games
up there with Dark Cave.
Yeah. Most caves, I think, are dark, but that one especially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally called Dark Cave.
One thing I love about Dark Cave, if that's the cave I'm thinking of, the one in Gen 1 where you have to use Flash, right? Yeah.
No, that's the Rock Tunnel.
That's the Rock Tunnel, okay.
That's the Rock Tunnel. Dark Cave is the one in Gen 2 that you can go into before you've done even a single gym.
What I love about Rock Tunnel is you're going through it, you enter, it's too dark to see, so you cast Flash, you cast it, you have your Pokemon use Flash, and then you're going through, and then as you're going through, you get into a trainer battle, but I just like to think of it out of that context. A man approaches you and says, "Have you heard of costume players?" And I just love the idea of you go in somewhere that is too dark to see, and as you're going through it, some man who has just been standing there in the dark approaches you to ask if you know about costume players.
Yes.
That has stuck with me a long time.
Understandably. What I love about that is I remember playing up to Rock Tunnel on my cousin's borrowed Game Boy before I even had my own console. And the funny thing about Rock Tunnel is you could completely get rid of the need to use Flash, because it actually, the brightness, like the way the brightness on that game worked, if you were in a dark room, you could probably see well enough to navigate, and that's what I did, and I never taught a single Pokemon Flash, and I was correct to. Flash is garbage.
Yeah, it's not great. In most Pokemon games, unless you're playing like some crazy ROM hack, non-damage dealing moves, I don't bother with them really.
Yeah, the reason I'm bad at RPGs is because most of my early RPGing was in Pokemon, in which case you throw away all of the non-damaging moves. And so I then started playing Shin Megami Tensei and wondering why I keep dying.
The Shin Megami Tensei games are what taught me how to be good at RPGs. Because same. So Aguro joins the party, and the party leaves Lorbinia and goes to Grenoble, and they ask around about Artea. They find themselves at a guild of treasure hunters who all hunt for treasure in an old cave called Old Cave. And there's an old guy in the guild who says he knows something about Artea, but he'll only tell us if we retrieve the treasure Fairy Kiss from Old Cave. Because only a woman can retrieve it, I guess due to magic or whatever. So the party joins the guild, goes to the old cave, and Lufia retrieves the treasure. The party returns to Grenoble and gives the guy the fairy kiss. He says he's been trying to get it for 40 years, and I'm like, damn, in 40 years you couldn't get a woman to help you with this. You have no game. You, I am afraid, are maidenless. So the Rizless old guy says Artea's apprentice is in the tower northwest of town. This tower is called Northwest Tower. Things that have great names in Grenoble.
Mm-hmm.
The party heads to Northwest Tower and does the dungeon. Like Dragon Quest, you can leap off the sides of the tower's upper floors to exit. I like when things are like Dragon Quest.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
When the party reaches the top floor of the tower, they find Artea's apprentice, who refuses to tell them anything unless Totino's defeats him in a duel. This is another fight which can be pretty hard. The long play I'm watching, for notes, used an item to put him to sleep, and I wish I had thought of that. I did use lots of, spells and items. There's an item called, Mid-Arrow that does a lot of damage. I used a bunch of those, and also I used spells, but it would have been a lot easier if I just thought to use one of those weird plushes that puts them to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can, as I mentioned last week, you can take one for the princess's room. I ended up needing money, and so I sold mine, and I shouldn't have.
So after the fight, the apprentice is like, I can tell you're a good person from your energy, so I guess Totino's has good vibes. The apprentice says Artea is now in Elfrea, the village of elves, which seems a likely enough place for an elf to be. Humans aren't allowed to enter, and they'll need an elf helper to get in. The apprentice says Elfrea is far away. They'll have to pass through 3 towns to get there. Will we get there at the end of next week, or will getting there be a whole thing? We'll find out when we find out.
But for now, we're going to listen to some more music and talk about our memorable moments.
I really love when you talk to green-haired dude, and he's like, all right, well, let's go camp so you can tell me all about... And as you said in your recap, not much to talk about, but I was expecting, okay, we're going to transition from this to, a campfire scene. I'm having a very Chrono Trigger-y image in my mind, and instead, a ship full of imps just shows up, destroys his ship, and attacks. I was like, okay, I guess this is happening now. Never mind.
I love the ship sprite. I love the scale of I love the scale of things in 2D JRPGs. Because the ship is the size of a man. It's so small.
I love oftentimes you'll see that on the overworld, where it's like, yes, everything is representative here. This is miles and miles of countryside, so of course it'll be small. But this is in the city. There's a barrel right next to it that is bigger than the ship. It's so good.
Also,
very good.
I always think of specifically in the modern versions of the first 3 Dragon Quest games, there's a horse sprite I can't find a picture of it because it's such a weird specific thing, but it's like it takes up just one square, so it's just this weird narrow horse. It looks so weird. I just love how things look in 2D RPGs when they have to fit in a space.
Yes, the Dragon Quest horse is one of the best sprites ever. So did you guys find the first Dragon Ball in the Fairy Kiss Cave?
Oh,
No?
the dragon egg?
Yeah, so
Or was
there
that what
are
it's called? It's some sort of egg. And
yeah,
it
it's
was, and
the
I
dragon egg.
remember I looked at the description and was like, oh, this is a Dragon Ball.
Yeah, so there are 8, not 7, so it's not copyright infringement. But there are 8 dragon eggs in the world, and if you find all 8, you can take them to the egg dragon, and he will grant you a wish. And you can do it up to 3 times. And in this game, they go to a specific set of chests after to go and find them the second time. But in Lufia 2, apparently, it goes to 8 random chests that you've already opened in any dungeon that you've been to so far. So you like literally have to go find the Dragon Balls after you use them in Lufia 2. And I think that is such a cool little mechanic.
That is so cool. I will not interact with it. But I love it.
I want to, but it's yeah.
Yeah,
that is such a good way to do it. I will not look for the Dragon Balls.
No, I will potentially keep an eye out as I'm going through and make my first wish, and then I will not go back to get my second and third wish.
Yeah, I need Bulma to build me a dragon radar if I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. So speaking of which, the whole idea of Dragon Ball GT is a little stupid, but I also love the idea that
it's so good
that the forces of nature are like, Bulma, this was supposed to be a like once in a generation sort of thing, and you guys do it every 366 days on the dot. This is too many wishes. You're fucking up the world.
I same. GT is full of incredible ideas, despite being a very rough show. But I have deep affection for it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I should finish watching Dragon Ball, or finish watching Dragon Ball Z, or watch any of Dragon Ball GT, or watch any of Dragon Ball Super.
Probably, yeah.
I've watched a good bit of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and I love them both. But I haven't finished either.
See, I watched. I probably saw some of Dragon Ball Z first, but I got into the original Dragon Ball before that, and I love it so much. It is, as much as I do think Z deserves much of the acclaim it has gotten, I think the fact that it's completely overshadowed its predecessor is a fucking shame, because the original Dragon Ball is a delight.
I love how they're so clearly written by the same weird old pervert, but also they're completely different.
Absolutely.
I love how it's both of those at the same time.
Yeah. So this is post episode stuff. We can dive into that in the post episode. I have a lot of words about Dragon Ball that I would like to share. Do either of you have any more words about Lufia that you would like to share?
Lufia.
Thinking, I want to know what's up with Lufia. Again, she's the name of the game is Lufia. The name of the second game is also Lufia. So there's got to be some shit going on with her. She's mysteriously showed up in a town one day. One of the old as fuck 4 heroes had a reaction to her name. I genuinely don't know what her deal is. I have not been spoiled on it. I'm gonna just throw out, I think she's some sort of sealed evil in a can deal. Like, she's more of a, like, she's more than just a person or something. That's what I'm going for.
That would make sense. Yeah, I don't know. There's clearly something to her, because Guy may have had a reaction to her. Gades definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
So something's going on with her. And like you said, the name of the game is Lufia. Super Lufia Brothers.
Yeah, I think it's
Super Lufia Brothers.
So far, this game absolutely seems like it should be named after Lufia. But I love the fact that Lufia is not a recurring theme in any of the other Estopolis games, but they're called Lufia anyways.
Listen, they were translating games back in the day. You look at what that was called in Japanese. You shake your head and ignore it. You either think of something that seems cool, or you pick a character or a thing from your translation. And go, that's it. That's what we're naming the game after. And then you name every game like that. Unless you don't. There are also cases where they go buck wild in a different direction, just naming every game something completely different.
I will say, Secret of Mana is a good as hell name.
Yeah,
it's very good.
It's not at all related to Seiken Densetsu, but it's a good as hell name.
If I remember correctly, when they the first remake of Seiken Densetsu, Sword of Mana is a fairly good translation of Seiken Densetsu. So they like got there eventually and managed to keep it in the mana thing. I don't exactly remember, but if I remember correctly, Seiken Densetsu is something about the sword.
Seiken Densetsu, according to this Game FAQs forum, more or less translates to Legend of the Holy Sword.
Yeah.
Seiken is some sort of holy sword, and Densetsu is the plain word for legend.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sword of Mana implies a legendary sword.
Yeah, which I think is very neat.
But it is funny how that was localized originally as Final Fantasy Adventure, and also the Saga games were Final Fantasy Legend.
When you got a brand, you got to brand it.
Even if they're perfectly unrelated games.
If I remember correctly, though, Seiken Densetsu was a Final Fantasy offshoot, and that's why it has chocobos and moogles in it.
Oh, does it? I've never played a Seiken Densetsu.
Yes, I believe that one should have been Final Fantasy Adventure, but Saga in no way should have been the Final Fantasy Legend.
Oh no, I have played the first Saga game, and that is not a Final Fantasy game. That is something weird and fucked up, and I love it. Oh, here's a fun twist. Final Fantasy Adventure, aka Seiken Densetsu, was released in Europe as Mystic Quest.
Yeah.
That's something else over here.
Yeah.
I love game names from the 90s.
It's so crazy how non-global the world was in the 90s, where this wasn't a problem until Final Fantasy VII.
Oh god. I'm so sorry. This just reminded me of, I'm very sorry, Bernard. I have to immediately relate this to a Cosmere thing. Because I found out a while ago, so there's a character named Hoyd who appears in almost every Cosmere novel, and I found out that there's been an issue more recently of the Chinese translators for the series have not been using anywhere resembling the same translation for Hoyd across different books, so it is so not obvious he's the same person.
That's so funny.
Every time they do different shit, I need to find the post where they say someone did a great post analyzing all the ways he's been translated in Mandarin, and I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. Anyway, sorry.
Because you prefaced that with it was going to be a Cosmere thing, I immediately stopped listening and started doing something else. And I have confirmed, Sam was correct. Final Fantasy Adventure, aka Seiken Densetsu, was conceived as a Final Fantasy spinoff. It was originally known as Seiken Densetsu, Final Fantasy Gaiden, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Sam was correct.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Sam was right?
Yeah, I knew that because I believe I'm right that Seiken Densetsu comes out before Final Fantasy 3, so Seiken Densetsu is technically the originator of the Chocobo.
It says after the release of the third Final Fantasy title in 1990, Square offered designer Koichi Ishii to direct a spin-off series game. But Square did trademark Seiken Densetsu, the title, in 1987 for use of a different thing. So I think you're pretty much wrong, but I think there is like some kernel of reason for you to believe that.
Yeah. So apparently,
Koichi Ishii worked on the Link's Awakening remake. That's cool. That game rules.
So I think I was thinking of Moogles. But even though I'm still wrong, but I think I was thinking of Moogles because Moogles were in Final Fantasy 3, Chocobos were in Final Fantasy 2, but Final Fantasy 3 1990 is still before 1991, but it's closer. So I was wrong, but less wrong.
Moogles and Chocobos have always existed.
Yeah,
Chocobos,
That's true.
they're real
Chocobos
things.
didn't originate in Final Fantasy 2. They originated in Nausicaa.
Moogles, if you go back, there are ancient Sumerian texts that mention the Moogles.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely from that, and not from a piece of a mono art that looks like that. See, ancient Sumerian text right there. That's what that is.
Nausicaa was the one that had Chocobos, right?
I
right.
don't. Yeah, Nausicaa and the Valley Wind. I think that did have Chocobos. My brain was going, no, that's the one that had the cool robot, and I'm like, no, that's Castle in the Sky. Brain, stop it. That's different early Ghibli.
Yeah, they were called horse claws in Nausicaa.
Nausicaa, Horseclaw. Yeah, those are Chocobos.
Those are Chocobos.
I knew there were Chocobos in Nausicaa. It's just been so very long since I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. Anything else about Lufia, so we can then continue to freely go on tangents?
I think we've demonstrated we're done out. With Lufia.
All right. So if you want to continue this conversation with us, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where if you donate to support us, you can get access to the bonus feed where we have after shows for every episode where we will continue talking about Chocobos and Dragon Ball Z. We also have bonus seasons of the show that are backer only. Because my back hurt so bad, I did not get the JRPG canons edited and put up, but I have recorded them.
Back hurt only episodes?
Yes, my back hurt only. But those will be up soon, and so you'll have a plethora of bonus content coming down the pipe on the bonus feed. If you up your subscription to $5 or more a month, you get all of the above, but I also read out your names a little like this. Shoutouts to Frosthair, Dragon Slayer 19, Kale Freddy Rodriguez, Aaron524, and J4 Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier will get all of the above. I didn't mention the names of the other tiers this time because I was going off book. But either way, the Luminaries are really cool, so they get to have a broader shout-out. They get the above, but also a one-sentence shout-out to whatever it is they're passionate about. So shout-outs to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shout-outs to Vimk, who says, she parked herself on one of the destroyed humps of rubble in the dead center. And shoutouts to It's Claire Time, who says, for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game. I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.